All right, thank you for joining me. So, now that the Mueller report is in, should we now praise Mueller? Should we think that he's a great guy and his people were great and magnanimous people? Certainly not. Mueller and that report and that committee, that special counsel office, was and remains a very dangerous phenomena in American politics. They were in power for too long. They probably took another year when they could have wrapped it up pretty quickly since there was nothing there. Very political. There are rumors, and I can't confirm this, but I hope people look into this, that the Mueller sat on the results of his findings before he was finished before the midterm, but he sat on the results until after the midterm to help the Democrats take back Congress, which is very, very serious and really a display, as if we need another one, of the naked political aspect of that entire committee from day one. But what really I find chilling as an American is the way they arrested Roger Stone, particularly. But I would also say the arrest of Manafort and the arrest of President Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, that these were men who were willing and who expected to be charged and would have been very calm about showing up at the police station and being booked and the process. These are lawyers. I think certainly in the case of Cohen, I don't know about Manafort, but and I'm not sure with Stone either, but they understand the process. And yet instead, Mueller and his thugs had to show up at their door with SWAT teams and machine guns blazing and dressed in armored gear with a tank, apparently, in the case of poor Roger Stone. Here you have this elderly man who is this kind of weird guy, sort of a swinger, they say, and he had expected to be arrested. But the fact that we see that spectacle on national television, I think is getting us conditioned to this kind of heavy-handed bully boy police action on a national level. And the fact that it was done against people as part of the Mueller team, which is revered, lionized by the left as almost the second coming of Christ, and the fact that we would expect the media to fawn on this and think there was something good about this. Oh, it's a great day, right? Great moment in our politics that this happened. It has the cumulative sinister effect of legitimizing and normalizing this kind of activity, and that's troubling. The entire committee, the entire existence of this fake committee, which was conceived on falsehood, namely this phony dossier, and I'd like to see information released about that, how that happened, and firing of James Comey, which was absolutely the president's prerogative. And here was a man who deserved to be fired. He was disloyal. He was leaking information. That this led to the impanelment of this group that had these extraordinary extra constitutional powers is deeply troubling, and it's a phenomena that I think should hopefully lead to a Congress that reexamines the entire apparatus, the legal structure of having special prosecutors. In retrospect, none of them were good. Lawrence Walsh, the head of the Iran-Contra Committee, they stayed in business for 4 more years after Reagan had left office. During the entire Bush senior administration, they harassed President Bush, they harassed his cabinet members, and 1 week before that election, I might remind us, little American history, they indicted Caspar Weinberger and a couple of other people in the Bush White House or close to the Bush White House, which created a problem for President Bush, and it didn't look right, and it's a very bad news day. And then, of course, Clinton won the election, And the day after that victory, they dropped the charges. I mean, this is a highly political group of unelected officials with extraordinary extra-constitutional powers. And there was nothing to celebrate with Mueller. There was obviously nothing there. They were out to get Trump. They had highly partisan people like Weisberg and others who were just have a history of this kind of attack. The way they were trying to question people, I'm having, for example, assuming my equipment works properly, Dr. Jerome Corsi on this program next week. They said to him, basically, they called him in and said, if you agree to say this and that, we'll let you off the hook. Otherwise, you're going to be prosecuted for crimes. And Corsi said, look, I'd rather rot in jail than lie so that I can get off. I mean, in other words, they were using high means of extorting information out of people, terror means, actually, if I may use that term. What they did to General Flynn, they basically lured him into a meeting, telling him, it would be better if you do this in private. You don't need to bring a lawyer, they told him, than if we have to have a public hearing. And then they trapped him in a perjury rap. This is an honored, decorated U.S. military man who had served several successive administrations, both Democrat and Republican. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but he didn't deserve to be treated like that. And there were other cases of like nature where extraordinary means were used to coerce people, to pressure people, and to harass people and ruin their lives in order to try to prove this false narrative. Now that it's over, I hope that we have a full evaluation and examination of the tactics that were employed here. I hope that we go back and find out how this happened, how this whole cockamamie conspiracy theory got started, who started it, what happened, who are the players here, how did they get that phony dossier, what was in the dossier, how is it that this dossier was used to get a FISA report permission, FISA being the FISA court, permission to spy essentially on the president, and other means and methods. And I hope that the Attorney General now finally goes after some of these corrupt FBI agents and Department of Justice agents, figures. The left-wing media is going to portray this as, oh, they're attacking the FBI. Not at all. They're cleaning the FBI of this kind of rot, this kind of corruption, something that you would think the left would support and did support before the advent of President Trump. So Bob Mueller is not a good guy. We could talk about his record here in Massachusetts as district attorney when he put 3 innocent men allegedly in prison just to get to further his career, 2 of whom died in prison. The third was released after they were exonerated. All of them received compensation for their false accusations. Or we could talk about his record at the FBI, where he was a fixer, where he gave a green light to Hillary Clinton's uranium deal as Secretary of State. Talk about collusion with Russia, not to mention looking the other way on the Boston Marathon bomber and other things. So, he actually is the personification of everything that's wrong with our national security apparatus and with the granting of extra powers to an external agency and how they can go rogue. That is his Mueller committee. And all I can say is I hope that it's investigated. I'm not one to say, oh, Mueller's all of a sudden an honorable person. And those are my thoughts on this. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.